Hi, my friends. This is Leo Babauta of Zen Habits here, and so happy to be here with you. In this video, I'm going to talk about time management simplified. So, time management is a big topic. A lot of you actually have asked me to write about it, and I'm going to get to the heart of the matter with time management in this video and talk about how to actually work with that heart because it's a misunderstood concept, time management. And so we're going to talk about that. So let's talk about why we're going to talk about time management to start with. And again, a lot of people have asked about it, and so I'd love to address this. But the reason why it's a problem for a lot of people is because we always feel like we don't have enough time for the amount of things that we have to do. And in some ways, that is literally true. We don't have enough time for the amount of things that we have to do because we have too many things to do and not enough time. So that is true in that sense. In other ways, though, maybe we actually can make better use of our time. Maybe we're wasting a bunch of time. Wasting, I'm going to put in quotes there because that's a very judgmental word. But maybe there's ways where we're using our time in ways that are less than ideal for what we're trying to do with our lives. So, for example, let's say you wanted to exercise in your life and you wanted to create something and you want to make sure you're on top of your regular work tasks and these kinds of things, but you're not finding the time to exercise and create. You're just trying to stay on top of your regular work task. And so it's like, I don't have enough time to exercise. But that isn't true. You just haven't prioritized exercise, and instead you're prioritizing other things, maybe routine work tasks, maybe distractions, maybe you're going on your favorite websites or looking on social media or responding to messages instead of actually creating or exercising, which is totally fine. That's how you've chosen to use your time. But for a lot of people, we want to shift that so that we're actually making better use of our time that line up. When I say better, I mean it lines up better with our actual priorities, our actual values. And that's really what we're talking about here is that we have enough time to do a lot of things in our lives, but doesn't feel that way because we are using that time in a way that isn't aligned with our values and priorities. Um, the other aspect of that is it doesn't matter how good you use your time. If you have too many things on your list, which is always going to be the case, actually, it doesn't matter how good you are at being ruthless. If you have too many things on your list, it will always feel like you don't have enough time. But the truth is, we're never going to get everything done on our list. We will never have time to do everything in the world. Maybe I want to like do some skydiving and travel the world and like write a book and, make a podcast and, whatever, right? Maybe there's like 1,000 things that I want to do, but I'm never going to actually have time to do that. And so the reality here that I want to talk about in terms of time management is we will actually never have enough time for all the things that we want to do. And what that means is either we can always feel underwater, or we can start to accept that our time is limited and we're going to just try and be as intentional as possible about how we use it. And if you are as intentional as possible about using your limited time, then you will know, hey, some things are going to fit in my day and my week and some things aren't. Okay, so with that in mind, let's get to the heart of time management, which is actually, it's not about managing our time, it's about managing our focus. Is our focus on the things that will actually make the impact that we want? Is our focus on the things that matter to us the most? Or is our focus on things that are less important? And so time management isn't about managing time. We all have the same amount of time. It's about managing our focus. What are we focused on? If you're focused on social media and you're not a social media, let's say, content creator or social media manager for a company, if you're focused on social media, that's where your focus is. But is that in alignment with your best intentions, with what you want to create in the world? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But let's just say it's not. Okay, great. Then the issue of time management is really about how do I put my focus on something else that will actually make the impact that I want, create what I want, use my time in a way that I actually really want. So that's the heart of time management. Where do I put my focus? And that brings us to another problem that people have with time management, which is I don't know. I don't know. I have so many things to choose from. How do I actually choose? And there isn't a right answer to that. But what I'd like to do is give you a very simple method for doing for how to actually choose your focus. So the first part of this simple method is make a list. What are the things that you want to get done this week, this month, today? Put everything on here. Let's call it a master list. Okay. Master list meaning it's just one list that is all the stuff you want to do. It doesn't have to be your appointments or things that are on your calendar, but more all the things that aren't on your calendar. So go through your email and look through all the things you need to do, put them on that list. Think about all the things that people are requesting you to do, put that on the list. Think about the things that you want to do, including exercise and paying your bills. Put all of that on that list. Let's make it a digital list so that we can reorder it. Now, what I want you to do is reorder it roughly in terms of what's most important to you. So if you're like, I want to write a book, let's move that up on the list. If that's super important to you, that's more important than, commenting on someone's report, right? They send you a report, please give me some comments. That's like, yeah, I would like to do that, but it's not as important as writing the book. It's not as important as doing my workout, maybe. It's not as important as doing my monthly report. So that's up there. And so we're going to kind of figure out roughly what my priorities are. So the most important stuff should be near the top. The less important stuff should be near the bottom. And it doesn't have to be exactly in the right order. Sometimes you'll be like, I don't know which one of these is more important. Put them right next to each other. Totally fine. But you do know that those two things are way more important than these 5 things down here. So that's what we're looking for, is a rough ordering. So now you have a list of things you want to do that are in rough order. Okay, next part, that was step 2 in our simple method. The third part is pick the things you want to do today. And for this part, what I want you to do is make a separate list. It could be another document, it could be something you write on a notebook, but I want you to look at your calendar. What have you got to do today? So put those on the list. So at 10, I'm going to do this. 11, I have a meeting with this person. I have a doctor's appointment at this time. So put those on the list and then take the things from your master list that are, ideally near the top of the list and start putting them somewhere on your today list. So you have a master list and you have a today list. And your today list, I want you to put the most important things as high up as you can. Now, maybe you have an 8 a.m. appointment, and so you can't do anything before that, but at 9, from 9 to 11, you've got some space here. So fill those 2 hours with your most important things. And then put some other things down, less important, down below. But generally have a list for today that includes your appointments and your most important things and whatever else you want to get done today in a rough order of when you want to do it. Now, you don't have to stick to that perfectly, but this is a rough order. So I have my 8 a.m. appointment, but at 9, I'm going to work on my important things. And then at 11, I've got another call. And then I'm going to work on my medium important things and then finish, if I have time, with some less important things. So each day, you're really setting your intentions. If you do this, you will be answering the question of what do I need to focus my attention on? And I encourage you to do this actually the day before. At the end of each day, make your list for tomorrow so that when you start tomorrow, you're really clear. Here's what I've got to do. Now, that brings us to the next 2 things that I want to talk about in terms of time management. The first one is that you want to be focusing on one thing at a time. Now, that is really all that we can focus on. It is a very simple idea. You've probably heard it a lot of times, but it's more important than most of us realize. If it is 8 a.m., the only thing I can focus on is this appointment. And then at 9, the only thing that I can focus on is the first thing on my list that comes after that appointment. So let's say I want to write that report. So that's at the top of the list. That's the only thing that I should be focused on. I shouldn't be checking my email or messages. I shouldn't be looking on social media or my favorite websites. I shouldn't be doing a bunch of other busy work. Only thing I've got to focus on is this report until I'm either done or my time's run up and I need to move on to the next thing. Maybe I give myself, you know, an hour to work on that report. Okay, great. When the hour is done, I can focus on the next thing. Or maybe I finish it in 40 minutes and I can move on to the next thing. So we want to focus on one thing at a time. And if you do that, work down your to-do list one thing at a time. You might not finish everything on the list, but you will be making the most of the limited, precious time that you have. You will be managing your focus in a way that is optimal. That brings me to the next point. There will be times when you know this is the thing that you want to be focusing on, but you're trying to go on to the next thing or check your messages or do a bunch of easy tasks. And that is because you're going to feel some resistance to some of your important things. So we want to start to get good at recognizing that resistance. There isn't anything wrong with resisting. There isn't even anything wrong with procrastinating or distracting ourselves. But if you learn to recognize your resistance to focusing on that one thing that you need to focus on, you will be able to work with that resistance rather than letting it control your life. For most people, they don't even recognize that they're feeling resistance. They just magically seem to be working on other stuff instead of the thing that they wanted to focus on. And so that then becomes we're at the mercy of our resistance. Instead, we can say, hey, I'm having some resistance here. I've been doing some other things instead of this thing that I want to focus on. How do I work with that? And what you can do is get on into a focus session with one or more people where you're all focusing on things you're resisting. You can sit down next to someone and do it, at a coffee shop or in your living room or in your office and work with them. I often will do it with a family member, like my daughter. We'll sit next to each other and we'll do the thing that we're resisting, side by side. So she'll do her report, I'll do my report. Um, you can set a Pomodoro timer, which will, it's just a timer that will let you have 25 minutes of focus and then 5 minutes of rest and then 25 minutes of focus, 5 minutes of rest. That can be really helpful to stay focused. There's a number of other things that, I've talked about here in this channel to help you to focus, but what you really want to do is work with that resistance because you will resist working one thing at a time down your to-do list. And that's okay, but if you can get better and better at working with that resistance, you will be spending your time more and more along the lines of your intentions. Last thing I'm going to say in terms of time management, and obviously this is a deep topic that we can talk about for weeks and weeks, but the last thing I want to say is that it really helps to have to look at the time frame, the time horizon that you're using to manage your time. So I talked about a master list and then today. Today is a really good focus for most of us because we can't do everything in one day. So we have to limit and focus just on this. And this is less overwhelming than all of the things that we want to do. So today is a really good time horizon to look at, but it isn't the only time horizon you want to be looking at. A week is actually a great time horizon. We can look at the beginning of the week, how do I want to spend this chunk of my life? A week is a really great time horizon because it is more than a day. We can get more done than in a day, but it isn't so long like a year or 10 years that it just feels too abstract. A week is a nice solid chunk. And so week by week, if I set my intentions for the week, here are the 5 to 10 things I want to get done this week. Maybe it's 4 things, maybe it's 7. So I actually think 4 to 7 things a week is a really good number. Set yourself 4 to 7 things each week, then block it off on the days, and then when you make your today list, you know that one of the most important things you want to do today is one of the things that you set for your goal for the week. So you use the week focus to make your today list. Beyond that, I actually think that having a time horizon of a year and a month are also important to do at certain times. So the beginning of the year and then maybe quarterly, you want to be looking at like, how am I spending this year? How do I want to spend this year? How am I actually spending it? Where am I getting blocked? And then every month, look back at your year focus. Like, what do you want to get done this year? And to ask yourself, well, out of all of that stuff, what should I focus on this month? And that'll help you with your week's focus and your day's focus. And in that way, we are lining up our big intentions, our big goals with our medium and smaller size goals. Year, month, week, and day. And then right now. And if you can do that, you don't have to have a complicated, fancy system. You just want to be checking in every day, every week, every month, every year. What are my intentions and how is that actually going? If you do that, you will actually be spending more and more of your days, your time on the things that matter. Okay, my friends, leave a comment if you found something useful here. Let me know what was useful. Leave a comment if you have a question or an objection. Maybe there's something else that works for you that I haven't used. You can see here that I've used very simple tools. There's a calendar and there's a couple of to-do lists. But other than that, there's not much in terms of tools. We don't need a lot for time management. Subscribe to the channel if you find this content helpful. Let me know what you'd like me to record in future videos. And finally, give this a like, a thumbs up, so that others can find it, and share it with friends who could use some time management and some Zen habits in their lives. Thanks, my friends.